All right. Well, it is good to see everybody, and thank you for joining to discuss the National Psychology Training Consortium Cascades region. We are pumped to have you all to be able to talk a little bit about our sites as well as answer some questions. Just to do some quick introductions of who we are. I'm David Bauman. I'm the Regional Training Director at the Cascades region. I'm also the Site Training Director for Community Health at Central Washington. I'm just going to call on our administrative folks here. Rob, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Robert Allred. I'm the site training director at HealthPoint.
Tony.
Hello, I'm Tony Ripper. I am the operations manager for the National Psychology Training Consortium.
Amber.
Hello, I am Amber Bartley. I am the administrative assistant at National Training. Oh gosh, NPTC. There we go.
I love it.
That's why we
I love
shorten it.
it. And then Chris, do you want to give your introduction there?
Hi, I'm Chris Shaw. I work with HealthPoint. I'm the coordinator for our internship program here at HealthPoint.
Fantastic, fantastic. It's good, and not to be corny as hell, Sarah. It is good to see you. Yes, hello, hello. It's nice to have you here. I'll tell a funny story about Sarah if we have time at the end, but it's good to see you. So, Amber, do we want to go ahead and pull up the slides and we can get so what our hope is to do is to go through some different information about the consortium and the different site that we'll progress through. And then Tony has some questions that have already been pre-submitted. Now, we want this to be really kind of engaging and interactive with you all that have made the call too. So while we have some pre-submitted questions, Tony, my mind says maybe we start with, after we go through the slide deck, that we allow everybody to maybe ask any questions that they have. And then if we don't have any questions, we go to the pre-submitted ones. Am I calling too much of an audible? Is that
Oh,
okay?
that is totally fine. In fact, just in case there are a lot of questions, regardless of what we get through today, any questions that have been submitted, we will be putting together an FAQ guide and things like that after all of our virtual open houses. So we will get your questions answered, even if they're not answered specifically today.
Boom. Is anybody else, is this a new feature in Zoom that Amber is like now on the slide deck? Like that
I'm
is,
impressed.
right? How cool is this? Amber, you were like, I'll try to take a picture and I'll send it to you. I've never seen Zoom.
I saw
Dude,
it when I was trying to share. I do not want that. How do we fix that?
I think we're rolling with that. That's gonna that's gonna be great. So let's go ahead and we can progress to the next slide. You know, a couple of different things that we always like starting with when we get to do these kind of open houses in our interview days. And Rob and Tony and Amber, please be like, Dave, we got to move on. You've been talking now for 15 minutes and it's complete nonsense. We want to actually get through questions. And the one thing that we always like to start with though is just to for everybody that's joining us, and even if you're watching this recording, of just taking a minute or maybe a couple seconds to ground yourself in what is occurring right now. We always like to talk about the reality of what it took to get to this point. As a trainee, as a student, to be considering different places that you got to apply for internship, and obviously, and this is a nice segue. You know, I know Sarah because Sarah was she did some shadowing with us when she was in her undergrad. So if you think back to like 4 or 5 years ago, where you were thinking about applying for doctorate school and where you're going, and then you get in, that can be a stressful time. You get into the doctorate program, and then you're trying to do well in your classes. You probably have to go through comp second year. You start your rotations and your practicum, and then you start to propose your dissertation. And now you're in this position where it's like, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to spend my residency at, where I'm going to spend my internship year at. And our minds do really interesting things when we're in these moments of they're hard, they can be stressful. You can feel not like yourself. It will constantly say, hey, this will pass. Like, I can't wait for this to be over. I just can't wait to figure out one, who I'm going to apply to and what am I going to be able to do. Like, I just can't wait for this to be over. And while that's good, we always talk about this, while that's a good thing that our minds do that, because it's your mind trying to be resilient. It's your mind trying to remind you, like, again, you will get through this. The one thing that kind of sucks about it is that we lose sight of the moment where you're going to be applying for internship. Like, how freaking badass is that? It's a big deal. It took a lot of effort. It took a lot of sacrifice. It took a lot of long nights and putting yourself constantly outside of your comfort zone. Like, it is a badass move to be here right now. So as much as possible, and throughout the next couple months, especially as you start to submit your appies and you're waiting to hear back and you get some acceptance, you get some rejections, you have interviews, you're beating yourself up. Did I answer those questions right? And then you get to have the fun moment of submitting your ranks and waiting 3 weeks before you find out who you match to. When your mind is telling you, I can't wait for this to be over, also don't lose sight of how amazing it is that you're applying for internship. It's a really, really big deal. So, a little bit about NPTC. So, originally, we were the Heart of America Psychology Training Consortium, and that was 2003. Why it's, I think, really important to touch on that we've been an organization now for over multiple decades is that it shows the team that is behind this consortium, such as Tony and Amber, that really just make these things go. It also shows the expansive knowledge that all the different regions within NPTC have on APA accreditation, policies, and procedures, and making sure that when you step foot within our sacred clinics, that you get to focus on what we want you to be able to focus on, which is receiving the best training in the country in no matter what setting that you're in. For us in the Cascades region, obviously it's going to be primary care behavioral health, but throughout our regions, that there's so much of an effort from the consortium that allows these sites to operate independently and supported, that you get a robust training experience that is really unmatched throughout the United States. Now, our mission is training tomorrow's psychologists in the discipline of and practice of psychology in rural and underserved patients. I'm going to pause on this one. I know Rob will agree with me, or Dr. Allred will agree with me. There's a lot of different questions that we get about, like, who makes the best intern, right, at our sites. For sure, we'll talk about, like, having experience in primary care, wanting to work on teams. All those things are true. I will say this, though, and I'll say this unapologetically. If you do not want to work with the underserved, if it is not a value of yours, do not rank us. I would probably say don't even submit an application because, applications cost money. Our mission as health centers in Yakima and the Seattle area is to provide services to people that have been left out of the conversation, that don't have access to care, particularly that do not have access to behavioral health care, and largely are marginalized. So again, if that is not the population that you're looking to work with, which that's okay. I think it's a good thing to know your values and which populations you're trying to work with. Just know that's our unapologetic, unwavering value. And if it's not one that you hold, grace, love, and compassion, that's okay. We just won't be the site for you. So we can move on to the next slide there. We do the scholarly practitioner model. We won't talk a lot about like what this means. We'll talk a lot about this during orientation and different things. But the basic premise of this is that we want people to be a true generalist of knowledge and methods as opposed to kind of like specializing. And when we start to think about our work within the Cascades region, particularly that we're focused on primary care, being a generalist, to be able to work with all ages, all conditions in multiple different formats, it just is a very, very useful thing for us to be able to do coming from this local clinical scientist and scholar practitioner. We also want to make sure that we're focusing on local realities. And while we're huge on evidence-based medicine and evidence-informed interventions, we're not going to do those decontextually, right? We're not just going to walk into our communities that largely these evidence-based methods and things weren't designed for and engineered for. We're not just going to give those out to the community indiscriminately. We're going to make sure that any intervention that we do is based on science, is based on as much research as we have, and it's done in a contextual way that honors the individuals, families, and communities that we're able to render their services to. And we want to make sure that we also are preparing people to have an inquisitive mind. One of my favorite things, and we were just doing this yesterday at CHCW in our group supervision, is to be able to have these rumbles that we call that we are constantly trying to challenge each other about how do we better serve our community? How do we better serve our patients that we get to the honor of being with? And that causes us to think critically of the literature, to think critically of what we're trying to do as a field and as a healthcare system. That inquiring mind, we really want to make sure that we're fostering throughout our training year. We can go to the next one. It's more, the one thing that I love this slide because it really does show how big NPTC is, and it's a benefit when you are an alumni of the consortium because as Tony and the team likes to promote, regardless of where you go in the state, there's going to be someone from the consortium that graduated from that. So it's helpful with jobs and with connecting. But just currently, we have 72 active supervisors that are alumni of our program. That's something that we're going to start doing today. Listen, internship year, it's a tough year because you have to move away from your tribe. You might move across the country. And then literally in a couple months, like our current interns are doing, you have to start thinking about fellowship. Trust when I say Health Point CHCW, we want to keep you as fellows. I actually wish no one's going to buy into this idea. I think it's ridiculous that our training program as an intern is only a year. I think it should be 3 years. I think it should be like family medicine residencies that are a 3-year program. No one's going to sign up to do that. So I will try to force people to do that anymore. But we want to keep you beyond just internship year for fellowship and to stay in our communities. We have 7 site directors that are alumni. That is awesome. On the board, there's 4 board members who are alumni. We have 1 regional training director that's an alum, and then we also have one of our MPTC leadership on the kind of the national kind of level is an alum. And then when we talk about presenters and didactics, 68 of them are alums. So this is a vast network of people that are involved in your training. And once you graduate, it's not just a year of internship. We're going to be a part of your professional career until it's done. And that's an honor for us. We want to be able to do that. And we're really proud of how many of our alum are part of still of our training program. Uh-oh, Doctor, am I getting too long? Is that what it's saying?
No, you used to say that internship should be 2 years, and now you're saying three. So
Oh, for
I
sure,
think
bro.
you're getting old and grumpy, is what I think.
Listen, man, I'm not kidding, and especially the way we train PCBH and different things. Like, I really wish it was 3 years. I wish it was a true family medicine residency program. So, yeah, no, I'm gonna start promoting that even more. Just talking a little bit about the Cascades region, which is what we're talking about here. So we've been accredited since 2019. Our first program, our first year of welcoming interns, I believe, was 2017. That group graduated with APA accreditation. It was on contingency, but we've been fully accredited since 2019. We had a reaccreditation site visit actually last year. We got 10 years as the max that you can get. So we won't have to do the next site visit until 2034. And we're really proud of that. 86 individuals have completed internship since 2017 in our region. And 11 interns currently are placed within our region, which is 8 that are at Health Point and 3 that are at CHCW. All right, let's talk a little bit about each one of the sites, CHCW and Health Point, and then we're going to be able to. I like the little QR code. Look at this. We're just getting fancy across the board there. So CHCW has 3 intern positions. So just a couple of different highlights about CHCW. We are a community health center. So we are a medical primary care clinic. Something unique that separates the Cascades region from all the other regions with NPTC is that we are something else that we're unapologetic about is that we are unapologetic about primary care behavioral health. That's what we're training for. That's what we're producing the next leaders and the next generation of dynamic BHCs within these primary care settings. So I think that's just a little bit of an informed consent piece. If you're like, oh man, primary care, I don't really want to work in primary care. That kind of scares me. Like, again, grace, love, and compassion, probably not the right internship for you. And so, and we hope though that might be something that you're interested in doing is to work in primary care because it's a beautiful place to be able to get training and to work. CHCW serves over 30,000 individuals, as I've always said, that are mostly low-income, disadvantaged families, a large population that are migrant farm working seasonal communities. We operate 5 primary care clinics. So we have a pediatric clinic, we have 2 family medicine residency clinics, and then we have 2 rural health clinics in Natchez and Tieton. Obviously, our training opportunities are going to be predominantly, well, not predominantly, it's going to be all PCBH. We do offer exposures to working in groups, particularly the chronic pain class that we have. We have group supervision, experiential learning that we'll talk more about throughout today. Obviously, our supervision, we'll talk more about. We're very proud of the supervision. You will get shadowed regularly and often at CHCW. Currently, it's happening on average once every other week that you get shadowed by a supervisor when you're working in clinic. So you get a lot of hands-on training as well as the traditional supervision of the 2 hours of individual. You also get time to work on quality improvement projects. So this is something that's a lot of fun that the interns will pick a quality improvement project and they'll follow the Plan, Do, Study, Act process. And really to try to highlight how psychologists can influence the healthcare system beyond just seeing patients into the clinical services, that there can be a lot of things that are done on the system level that with our background on research and stats and all those different things, we are very we're the right position for a lot of health centers to start to do some quality improvement projects. But we'll talk more about this. I will pass it over to Rob to talk a little bit about HealthPoint.
Thank you, sir. So yeah, HealthPoint, we are also a community health center, federally qualified health center. But instead of being located out in Yakima, we're in the Metro Seattle area, so King County, Washington, kind of the suburban area around Seattle. We serve, again, a very diverse patient population. Refugees, immigrants. We have over 70 different languages that are actively spoken by our patients on a regular basis in our clinics. So that is one of the things we're very, very proud of is just how many different languages that you'll get to work with when you see patients in our clinics. Um, like Dr. Bauman already said, we are a primary care setting where you're going to be doing PCBH. That's what you're coming here to do. So again, if that's not what you want to do, we are not the right site for you. You'll be assigned to either one of our larger clinics, or if you are at one of our smaller clinics, specifically Renton, then you'll split your time between the Renton Clinic and the Renton Sunset Clinic. But you have one assignment over the course of the year. Whenever there is an interest, we can set up a specific rotation to a clinic if you want to. So say, for example, there's some specific patient population that you're just not getting at your assigned clinic that's available at another one. Then we do that whenever we can. We have 3 confirmed fellowship positions for the coming year. I'm working on trying to increase that, but we keep hiring people. And so that gets complicated. But for sure, right now we have 3. Uh, Training, again, primary care, PCBH, you're going to be seeing whatever walks in the door. We will also have optional rotations through our school-based health center. So if that's something you're interested in working with adolescent medicine or working on in a clinic that is located in a school building, so you want to be in the high school again, then we can have a rotation that you can do that's optional. We also have a standalone urgent care. And so if you're interested in urgent care behavioral health, which is slightly different than primary care behavioral health, then you can do a rotation through our urgent care. We do a lot of consultation with primary care providers. We're going to provide training in gender-affirming care, medications for opiate use disorder, and specifically how to do those things in a primary care setting. So instead of thinking about it as specialty care, where you have to go and get a referral and go see someone else, how do we do this in primary care? Obviously, you're going to be conducting screenings and assessments for all kinds of things like chronic pain. And you're going to see medical and psychiatric conditions. You're going to be learning about medications. You're going to be learning about natural medicine, including acupuncture. There's something under that QR code that I don't remember what it was. So whatever it was, you're going to learn that too.
Nutrition.
Oh, yes, nutrition. Um, there was something else. No, I lost it. That's all right. Nutrition, all of the things you're going to see in primary care. That's what you're going to see here. And we will have 8 interns again for this coming cohort. All right, I think that's everything for me right now, right?
And is that the last slide? Awesome. Can we actually, yeah, Amber? Air high five. You already know what we're doing. Let's start off with answering any questions from you all. Any questions that your mind's having right now? I'm going to put some websites into the chat that I would highly, highly encourage. NPTC's website is phenomenal. It's very informative, and definitely check those out. And each site has individual websites that have a lot of videos and a day in the life and just a lot of different information about each one of them. So make sure to check those ones out that I just put into the chat box there. But yeah, questions that we can answer from you, and we can maybe do a little, either put it into the chat box, or if you want to do the little raise hand feature, we can call on people. But what questions can we answer from you all?
Hey, before we go into that, Dave, can I also say, in true primary care fashion, for those of you who got here after we started, don't worry, this is recorded, so you'll be able to see that first part.
Touche. Well said. Oh, and we have one of our chief interns on. Frankie, it's good to see you. Sorry, I totally missed it. Do you want to introduce yourself? And thank you for being here today.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt the flow. I know, David, when you get on a roll, you get on a roll. So
You're damn right. You're damn right.
wanted to let that excitement just play out. But yes, hello, all almost interns. My name is Francesca. I'm a current intern at one of our Federal Way clinics with HealthPoint and Cascades, and I'm one of the chief interns for this cohort. So here to answer any intern specific question, process type stuff. Been here for 2 months. It's been going good so far. So
And tell them
hit
what
me.
school,
What?
what college, university
Oh,
you're
what school? Sorry. I came from George Fox in Oregon. So didn't travel too far, but very different than Oregon, population wise, practice wise, energy wise. So been loving the change.
What? Yeah, well done. And Francesca is a huge Justin Bieber fan, by the way, so that we're all happy about Bieber's new album. That is a bunch
Yeah,
of bangers, which is great. Yeah. Okay.
not yeah. I don't know if I can actually name one song off the new album.
It is so disappointing on so many different levels. But
Yeah.
what questions can we answer for you all? Where's people's minds go? And Tony, oh, go ahead, Sarah.
I was just curious. I know that you mentioned a lot of screenings and assessments and things like that. I'm curious what kind of interventions typically come into play. I know it probably depends on the client or patient, but I'm just curious what beyond the assessments and screenings, what is working with a patient who's coming in kind of look
Great
like.
question. Great question, Sarah. And Rob, chime in here, obviously, where your mind goes. I think across the board, and something that you said that I think is a really great thing is that, it depends on the patient that's coming in and their context that they're having. I would say, though, without question, the primary kind of guiding philosophical, and definitely at CHCW, I think this is largely true at HealthPoint. I'll let Rob speak to that, though. We do a lot of third-based behavioral interventions. So we always like to name drop when we can name drop. So the second author of Acceptance Commitment Therapy, Kirk Strassel, actually started the PCBH program at CHCW. He was my mentor and my fellowship supervisor. So we're big ACT people, we're contextualists. Within that as well, though, we try to promote first wave behaviorism too. We do have some people that are second wave behaviorists as far as like CBT. Solution focus is a big part, motivational interviewing as well. And then kind of absorbing all of this, I think the two primary kind of philosophies that we have is definitely contextualism, which is like the third wave behaviorist approach. And then the other one is that this kind of single session mindset, which we'll talk a lot about throughout your orientation and get your exposure to. And it's not what it sounds like. It's not a one and done thing. It's just how you approach each moment with the patient. But those are our kind of guiding principles. While also making sure that people have a huge understanding of just epidemiology, pathogenesis, and using all this information with the patient that we have to work to come up with useful goals. But Dr. Allred, where's your mind go as far as primary kind of techniques, interventions?
I mean, I think you nailed it. I would hope so as the regional training director that you could, but good
Right.
job. And I also want to add, though, there's sometimes this fear that applicants come with, like, well, yeah, I'm humanistic, I'm dynamic, and I can't do primary care. And we have absolutely had interns that come from those kinds of backgrounds and have been very successful here. So we're going to teach you how to use the knowledge you have and apply it in these settings.
That's really helpful, I think, because I am coming from a more dynamic background, and that's one of the things I was curious and concerned about in thinking about whether I would be a good fit or not. Thanks.
Good question. Other questions? And Tony, we could always get, yeah, you were already on it. You were already
I
there.
was already on it. So, kind of related to the question that Sarah asked, she mentioned it briefly, but she mentioned assessments and what kind of experience interns would have with assessments in the Cascades region.
I can go first. Again, Rob, tell me to shut the hell up with this. So I would say, just again, kind of unapologetically, if assessments and testing are your jam, it's another grace, love, and compassion that's probably just isn't the right site for you. Now, while you're going to absolutely get a skill set of being able to quickly conceptualize a presenting concern and to contextualize what a human is going through, and we definitely will give you exposure to certain screeners and different interventions like MOCAs and RUDOSes and different ways of within the primary care context assessing for different things. We just try to make sure that we're very clear about this. We used to say, oh, hey, we can make that work. And, all these different, and then people would show up and be like, well, where's all my assessment and testing experience? Like, oh, yeah, now that you're here, that kind of sucks that we're not going to do that. So we're not going to do formal batteries. Both sites have ADHD pathways that you'll get exposure to using specific screeners and validated instruments to help with those diagnoses of ADHD, and just being very, very clear and upfront. Traditional testing, traditional assessment, this is just not going to be the place to get that. Your skills will be there. There's no question about that. And we've had people that have graduated for our internship that have gone in and done very well in testing specific fellowships. It just is going to be a different exposure and a different way of looking at it. Dr. Allred, where's your mind go?
I think that's a good summary. It's unfortunate, I think, that for a profession where language is so important, we are so imprecise with language sometimes, and we confound assessment and testing all the time. But Dr. Bauman's right. If what you're thinking about is testing, yeah, you're not going to love that.
And then Sarah asked a really good question. Francesca, did you see that comment? Do you want to answer that? Has anything surprised you about the site your first couple months, or is anything that you didn't ask before applying that you would have been important to know? Good questions. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great question. I think I had done 1 year of a primary care, so I felt like I knew what I was doing when I stepped into this role. But the way that HealthPoint specific, because I can't speak for CHCW, but the way that HealthPoint does primary care is unlike what I experienced. And so that was a curveball, but a good one, because I felt like I actually was part of the team, and I do feel part of the team, and I can actually be a support for my patients past just maybe our 1 visit or 2 visits with them, but I get to actually go right to their PCP and talk to them or advocate for them or bring up something in the middle of a session and be like, patient's talking about this side effect with their medication. Like, can I send them over to you when you're done? Do you have a minute? So it really feels like we're able to meet our patients where they're at and provide more resources than I initially expected from being in primary care. And to the other Sarah's point about different modalities, I think there is space for that here. I think you can hold a conceptualization of patients in a psychodynamic way, but you might not be able to do a full like childhood, get into it. But I've been really surprised at how open patients have been to receive whatever we offer them. And even if it is just like an insight into something that they mention and you tie it back to their childhood, like they take it and they run with it. Because every person's different. And so we approach every person a little bit differently. But yeah, hope that was a good response.
That got me.
Francesca, did you have any feedback for the second question? Was there anything that you would have asked that you didn't ask before applying that would have been important to know?
That's also a great question. Hmm. I think it might not be a question for the group, but maybe a reflection for you all to think about. How do you feel like you would handle really, really working on an interdisciplinary team, working with folks who might rub you the wrong way, people who you feel intimidated by? How do you truly feel that your interpersonal skills will translate in a super fast-paced environment where the learning curve is steep? Do you feel like you can actually get stuff done on your own with support of a supervisor, but maybe not because they might be unavailable at that time? And do you feel confident in trying something independently? I think it takes a really specific person to work within PCBH for many reasons. Not to say that you can't try it, but I think really being honest with yourself and how you think you would be in that environment, I think will give you greater success in this year.
Well said.
I don't know. Does that seem accurate, you guys?
That was hot damn, that was good.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Give it to you straight. Like, I'm not here to sugarcoat it.
Yeah,
It's fun, but it's fast paced, and you might be running around day to day, not knowing what you're doing, and you have to be okay with not knowing. If you're a perfectionist, this might not be a great fit.
Building off of that, I was actually just talking to again out of group supervision yesterday about this, where Francesca, I love that you said about um, the steep learning curve. Like there just is a lot to know. Like there's a lot that you're gonna have. There's a ton of reading that you're gonna have to do. There's a ton of just different training and aspects of it, and there's a reason why it's hard is because it's really freaking important. Like we take very seriously about entering in, as I always use this word, these sacred hallways of our clinics, and we have to be, at the top of our game, and that's where. Obviously, there's going to be a loving and supportive and compassionate team that surrounds you throughout this. And yeah, it is very fast paced. There's a lot to know. You're constantly thinking on your feet, having to shift from things that being interrupted during visits, running late to visits, it's a lot that will push outside of the comfort zone. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing that we really value within the region is we're going to keep it real and we're going to be candid about that because trying to lie to make people feel good about it so they come here and then they get here and they way it's like, oh my gosh, what is this? That doesn't help anybody. So I really appreciate, Frankie, what you said. That was great. Tony, we want to do a question from you?
Sure. So a question we received is, since you serve individuals from diverse cultural and socioeconomic backgrounds, what kind of training or support do interns receive to further develop cultural competence in clinical practice?
Yeah, so I can start from the beginning. I will try not to get on my soapbox and then give a long tangential speech that just doesn't make any sense. I will say this though from the beginning. Look, y'all, Psychology, we love making a lot of statements. We love talking about populations, and we don't see anybody. As far as the populations that we talk about and that we serve, when we get into the data that shows 10% of the United States healthcare population sees a mental health provider in a given year, when we get really curious about that 10%, they look a lot like me. They're white, they're affluent, they have means, they have access. That's not the populations that we're serving within our community health centers, and we take that very seriously. So part of this is for sure we have specific readings and presentations and discussions and intentionality, almost kind of like these things that we do to like check boxes, right? To say, hey, we're doing what we're supposed to do. We're trying to prepare people to see people within their context and honor who they are as a human, both their culture and whatever they're bringing into the room. All those things are true. And I will say the most powerful thing my mind says, and Dr. Albert, I'd love to know where your mind goes, is that we are actually in the clinics that are serving these populations. And we are doing everything that we can to constantly question. This testing and assessment conversation often brings this up where it's like, hey, let's look at who we made these norms on. Stephen Hayes just had a great podcast about, we got totally threw off because we thought there is such a thing as normal, rather than things just being reflective and contextually about what the human is going through. So when we do any interventions, we are constantly thinking about who is this human? What surrounds them? Who is their tribe, their family, their support system? What are their cultural understanding and their wisdom that they're bringing into this? Does this intervention make sense to do? Or is this an intervention that is absolutely decontextualized and we're just doing it indiscriminately because the evidence-based algorithm tells us to do it? So while there will be specific trainings, supervision will be a part of this, readings will be a part of this. What my mind says is the most important thing, though, is that every single day interaction that you're having with communities and really trying to be curious about what is it going to allow me to reach the communities that I'm very much trying to reach. Dr. Allred, where's your mind go?
Yeah, I think we have all the check the box things and resources available for you. And I think there's a tendency, especially in our field, we're highly driven individuals. We want to be competent in everything. We want to know all the things. And the reality is that no matter how much we give you, no matter how much any of us studies, we will never, ever know everything about the person that's sitting in front of us ahead of before we've met them. And so one of the things that we're going to give you, maybe kicking and screaming, is the ability to sit with the discomfort of not knowing, to be in a room and not know what the hell is going on and be okay staying in that moment and being with that person and figuring it out.
Rob,
Yeah, I might add something.
Yeah.
I have never felt more incompetent in my cultural competence until being here, and really upset at like just how American my education was. Like Rob said, we have 70 plus different languages that we see. 60% of my visits so far, I've used an interpreter. And some of these languages I have never even heard of. And I'm like quickly Googling, where does that language even be spoken? Like, you don't know. Like, you don't know what you don't know and what you're not taught. But I think that there's such a privilege in sitting with those individuals that you might have never interacted with, or they might have never come for services. And yeah, you're not going to know everything about their story and where they came from, but they'll tell you. Like, without asking, I have heard crazy, crazy stuff. And yeah, you kind of just have to sit and take it and listen and be there and validate. And then look it up later and just be like, whoa, that's crazy. And also completely abandoning all of your previous training of what you think is going to work in that visit. Because 9 times out of 10, it's just not going to work for them. And so you just kind of resort back to, okay, this person's a human and they're suffering. What can I do for them in this time? What can I send with them? How can I build them up? What are the strengths I'm already hearing from them? both culturally and individually, and just sending them on their way.
Pumped. Good answer. Before I pass it over to Tony for another question, any questions from the group right now? Anybody's minds going anywhere as far as specific questions that they would want to ask? Again, do the raise hand feature or put it into the chat box. But before I pass it on to Tony for another one, anybody's minds going anywhere? Oh, yes. Go ahead. Sure.
Hello, Dr. Bowman. I had a question more about the greater Seattle area. What kind of like demographics of population does the Health Point or what your sites basically serve?
Dr. Ulrich.
Yeah, so that's a me question. That's a it varies a little bit based on which clinic of ours you're looking at because we have 19 clinics all around Seattle, and so we actually, if you go and follow the links, we have actually, do we have we shared the Dropbox link yet, Chris? We will have shortly a Dropbox link where we break down the demographic information by clinic. Because it does vary a little bit based on the particular part of King County that you're looking at. I mean, HealthPoint is the largest provider of healthcare to refugees in the state of Washington. If you just go back in time and look at each refugee population that's come to the United States, we have we have those populations at our clinics. So you'll see Afghan refugees, Iraqi refugees, Somali refugees, Ukrainian refugees from this time and that time, refugees from India, from Nepal, from Burma. Um, and then, of course, we also have lots of Spanish-speaking patients that we serve. There's just a whole variety of other individuals who are underserved. Just what you would expect to see in an urban underserved population. I know that's a little bit vague. Does that answer the question or?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Mhm. Good question. Thank you for asking that.
Thank you, Dr. Bowman. I know you from CFHA last year, and I was part of your session on like just doing the contextual interview and the importance of it, and so it was amazing. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you for being here and congrats on getting to this point. Yeah. And that's a cool organization. If people are thinking about integrated care and working in primary care, I'll put this into the chat box, but the Collaborative Family Healthcare Association has a great conference every year that HealthPoint and CHCW, our supervisors, attend and present at regularly. It's just a really great place to do and a lot of great training. So I just put that into the website, but it's good to see you. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, the next question that I have is, what are some training experiences that would be helpful for prospective interns interested in your sites to look at gaining as they finish their final year of coursework in clinical?
Yeah, I think where my mind goes, I mean, the obvious one becomes, primary care, medical clinics. I think for sure that's a benefit to do. And I will just say we have learned to hold those experiences lightly as well because just, it's different, right? Can I was afraid you say like, hey, you got to think, hey, I got this training, I was in primary care, and then, boom, you're in another place, and it's like, oh, this is completely different. But I'd still say without question, primary care, medical clinics, working on teams. I think the ones that we don't talk about enough, though, within it is any place that is going to be a non-traditional setting. And I think why that's really important is that we get inundated within traditional settings. There's a great book. This is the true title of the book called No Bullshit Therapy. It's by a psychologist from Australia. And he breaks people up into two groups as he's talking about it, as far as like therapy lovers and therapy haters. We have designed and engineered therapy to be for therapy lovers because therapy lovers designed therapy. The problem is the majority of the population are not probably therapy lovers. There's more of the people that fall into the other group, which is more therapy haters. And so I think getting exposure to just people that aren't necessarily like looking for traditional therapy or, expecting it might have some biases, some stigma, some different things and that could be a certain population, that could be a certain setting, whatever it is. If you get exposure to those, you're going to do very, very well in primary care. Because I think that's one of the biggest things is it's like, how do I have these conversations with people that might not be, be talking to a psychologist means I'm crazy, or talking to a therapist means X, Y, and Z. So any non-traditional settings. And then lastly, for sure, if you get any exposure to single session modalities, you're going to be at the top of our list without question. So primary care medical, non-traditional settings kind of broadly, working with populations that, again, we don't serve a lot. And then the last one being any single session modalities. Dr. Allred, where's your mind go?
I don't have anything to add. I think you got it.
Question.
Okay. Next question. What qualities do you think make an intern particularly successful at your sites?
Dr. Allred, you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, feel free to just describe me. So
Um, Flexibility and comfort with chaos. That's really what we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean that was great. That was so good. So I would, definitely all those things that Dr. Allred just said. I think the main one truly that my mind is looking for is having a value of serving the underserved. If I think that is going to be the key driver in doing the things that we're going to ask you to do and trying to reach the population and different things. So, we might ask you to do things kind of differently in a different modality, in a different way, and working on teams and stuff. And that can be fun and that can be challenging. And if there's a value of understanding what it means for the community to do this, it's a little bit held more gently, a little bit more flexibly. Oh, Chris, yeah. Chris, were you going to put that in to the chat
Which
that
one?
you pull the information from Epic?
I can, but we have like 7 different internship locations, positions, so it's kind of hard to get all of that. Um,
So, Zebel, reach out to us because we can give that information
yeah,
to directly, and especially Health Point with it having so many different clinics. And as Dr. Allred was saying, the clinic locations, the populations change within those. So
yeah.
reach out directly because that information for sure can be given.
Yeah, and I was looking at the brochure by your organization, NPTC, and I think I didn't. There are a couple of Health Point clinics mentioned, but I'm not sure about the specific like location. Is it kind of like closer to San Antonio? Oh, sorry, Seattle downtown, or like where exactly? So just kind of like figuring out like logistics and yeah, where is exactly located. I know like there are a number of clinics, so just getting some more information would be helpful.
Yes, and I'm actually, don't you guys, Chris and Rob, you guys have a pretty cool website, right? That like shows the clinics locations, I believe.
Yeah.
But it doesn't talk about each language. In our recruitment materials, we usually put in like top 10 languages for each clinic and then break it down by percentage, because each clinic serves the community in that area. So a clinic in North Seattle might serve a completely different patient population than South Seattle, right? It's all about resettlement areas, like in Federal Way. There's very much an Asian patient population near them, but they also have a lot of refugees, immigrants as well. So we try to give you accurate information because we do have some interns and fellows who are like, I really want to speak my language and I want to use it every day. And so we'll go, okay, here are the clinics that we serve, right? The positions, locations, things like that. Because we know language can be very important to you, your background, history, things like that. So we really want to say, hey, this is accurate information.
Dang right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was really helpful.
Other questions or Tony?
Well, the next question that I had, I was going to go ahead and start with answering it. But one of the questions we received was, how does the program support interns in transitioning to independent practice or primary care after internship, particularly in terms of licensure preparation and career development? So I'll go ahead and start this time. NPTC is the organization that has the accreditation that and we work with the sites that you are placed at. One of the things that we do to help support your journey to becoming a psychologist is we do help you with that administrative side of things, such as licensing prep, helping you fill out your licensure paperwork at the end of the year. We also put documents together to show you what licensing requirements are for, I think we have it for all 50 states so that it's a quick resource so that you can see what you need to accomplish during internship and or after in order to be licensed in whatever state you want to be licensed in. After you leave the internship, we provide your schools, we provide licensing bodies, we provide them with your paperwork, with your hours, with your information so that you can pretty much go anywhere and get licensed. And hopefully, it's a relatively easy process for you. We try to take that burden off of you and help you with that as much as possible. So those, regardless, while you're here at internship, we support you. But even after you leave your internship, we are here to support you. You can reach out to us 10 years down the road and say, hey, I've moved to this state and I'm getting licensed here. Can you help me out? In fact, I just helped somebody who was an intern in 2015, and that was even before I started working for NPTC, and I was able to help them get their paperwork completed so that they could get licensed in a brand new state. So just wanted to kind of address that. And Dr. Bauman, Dr. Allred, is there anything that you have to add to that? How do you prepare them to get licensed?
Yeah, I think just adding on very, very quickly, obviously during internship year, we talk regularly about just professional development topics that includes, what type of supervisor you want to be, preparing for EAAA, all these different things. I honestly, what my mind would say though is the best thing that we offer, and this isn't a selling point, I really do believe this, is that, we offer kind of early admissions into our fellowship programs that if people want to stay on with us, largely we have the ability that if you like us and we like you, we get this signed and over with in October, so you don't have to worry about fellowship when it comes into January and February. And why that's useful is that both sites give support for EAAA, for study materials, for licensing exam. And so there's a lot of effort even just during that fellowship year to really prepare you for entry into licensure. And as I said, and I put into this, our alumni page, a lot of our graduates from both our internship and fellowships, they are now leading programs. They are now like the next generation of like stars within PCBH. So there's just a lot of different things that we try to do within the fellowship year, in addition to all the support that Tony talked about that NPTC gives you.
I don't have anything to add. That was great, both of you.
I'll add something to piggyback off of what Tony said with the alumni. So when you're finishing your internship or even your residency, if you are going to a different state and you want to connect with somebody, I had a Health Point alumni reach out a couple of weeks ago saying, hey, I'm going to be moving to Chicago. Can you connect me with some PCBH sites? And we have, you saw over 600 people who've gone through our program that we can go through and find, people to connect you with so that you can, maybe get on with them, or they have a friend, they know where there's openings, things like that. So it's not just an internship. The partnership goes on, like Tony said, 10 plus years. So keep that in mind.
Well, we are down to our last 5 minutes of this open house. So Dr. Bauman, Dr. Allred, are there any final words? And even Francesca, is there any final words that you have for prospective applicants as we wrap up?
The only place where my mind goes is where we started at. Is like I know this, or my mind predicts. We all were here, and it just isn't a fun time. So many people are giving you feedback about your essays and your cover letters, and by the time it gets to us, like we don't even know who the hell wrote it. Probably ChatGPT did. But joking aside, don't do that. But I think the important thing though is just recognize like the moment that this is. Connect with your family, connect with your tribe, make sure you're moving your body throughout this process because it is difficult. And do not lose sight. Like it is such a rare thing to be in the position that you are in. It's an improbable place to be right now. Don't lose sight of that. Being a psychologist is such a fun thing. Make sure that this process also brings joy as much as possible. Dr. Allred, anywhere your mind goes?
Yeah, again, I want to just really, really say it again. Take a deep breath and really try to enjoy this moment. And then remember that this process is about you, but it's also about the sites that you're looking at. It's about how you look as an applicant, but it's also how the sites look to you. And make sure that you're really looking at sites to make sure that they align with your values, that that's a place that you want to be, that they're doing the things that you want to be doing. This isn't a one-sided process. Uh, and then and then lastly, don't be afraid to reach out. And I'm going to say to any site that you're interested in, but I'm talking but very specifically about the MPTC sites and even more specifically about the Cascade sites. Any question at all that you have, reach out and ask. We are happy to answer those questions. We do this because we value education and we value our role as training directors.
Mm.
We want to answer your questions. Don't feel like there's a stupid question because there really truly isn't.
I think I'll just say really take the time to think about what you want, not what your peers are looking at, not what you think is going to be like a cool thing to put on your CV, because nobody really gives a crap. It's your experience, not somebody else's. So really think about that when you're going through this process of checking your ego, checking any anxieties that are coming up. Are these my anxieties or my peers? Is this something that matters to me, or is this just the frenzy of the environment and the situation? Because it'll be there, but no one else is doing the internship that you're doing except for you. And any internship spot that you get is going to be the exact same line as everybody else's. You're all going to graduate with the same degrees, but you're going to have a different experience. And so, do you want an experience that you'll look back on and be like, wow, I really challenged myself and grew? Or did I just do that because it sounded good and I actually just hated myself for 12 months? So, it's a season for you. It's a stepping stone in your career, and it is not the end all be all of your career. So, it's serious, but it's not that serious. But take it serious, but yeah.
But have fun.
Have
Have
fun.
fun.
Have fun for sure. Well, and I really like everything that was said. I love what Dr. Allred said as well. Reach out to us. I cannot overstate this, and I agree with him completely that it's not just our sites. Every single internship in the country wants people to reach out to them directly. It's a great thing. We love talking about these things. So if you have further questions, reach out, follow up with us, check out our websites, and hopefully we see some of you in November, and then hopefully we see some of you starting next summer. I mean, I guess January. What am I talking about? November is application, January interview dates. Yeah.
Don't confuse people, Dave.
That's my bad. Confusing myself.
Thank you all for coming today. We really appreciate it. Lots of emails lots of email addresses in the chat if you need to reach out to any of us at any time.